Senator Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Collins, do workers in the United States have a right to be in unions? Secretary Collins? Do workers in the United States have a right to be members of unions?
Okay.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't know it was a question.
Okay. President Trump issued an executive order.
Hey everyone, welcome back to True Voice. If you're new here, I'm Andrew, a proud American, a believer in workers' rights, and someone who gives a damn about our veterans. Today, we're diving into a fiery exchange from a recent Senate hearing. Let me tell you something. This video had me shaking my head more times than I can count, but also nodding in agreement. So buckle up, because we're going to break it down piece by piece, and I'm going to give you my honest reaction. Let's watch.
Banning collective bargaining in the VA, eliminating union rights to 79% of workers there because of security reasons. Do you think that workers in the VA are a threat to national security if they're a member of a union?
I don't think that was the purpose of the EO, Senator.
That's exactly what he said. Then why did you eliminate collective bargaining rights at the VA?
I think the interesting issue here is that's not what the EO is about. The EO is our national security interest of our fourth mission. And if you look at the entire EO, is about making sure that the fourth mission is not.
Is a nurse at the VA a national security threat by being a member of a union?
Okay, sir, I can't answer the question. We're on different pages. It's not the fact that the VA is a national security threat. It's a national security threat that if we can't perform our fourth mission,
that's
looking at.
Well,
I mean,
that's what. Bottom line is unions. 79% of workers at the VA are union members. They no longer are able to engage in collective bargaining. To me, that is an outrage. I think the courts will overturn that. Next question.
Well, at this point, that's not true. At this point, that's not true.
All right. Let me ask you this. Do you believe that every veteran in this country, as I believe, and I think many members of this committee believe, are entitled to VA health care?
As a veteran, yes.
Yeah, okay. What are we doing right now? What are you doing to improve outreach to bring more veterans into VA?
Well, I think that's, let's go back to a question you just said. Does everybody have a right to be in a union? The answer is yes. Does everybody have a right to, on the benefit that they've earned to come to the VA? But I can't force them in.
No, of course you can't. But of course you can't.
I'm missing maybe the point there. I apologize.
The point is, there are a lot of veterans out there, I know this, I used to be chair of this committee, who do not know what their benefits are. And it's our obligation to say to veterans all over this country, you put your life on the line to defend America. Congress has passed A, B, and C. We welcome you into the VA if you choose to come in.
Yeah, Senator, I think this is a great place for us to have an honest, a conversation, because I'm concerned about this as well. And part of this goes back to how we're actually transitioning out of DOD into VA.
That's one of the factors.
And I think that's one of the big things. And there's an honest conversation here. Is it properly placed right now?
Good.
Transition. So I'm wanting to do that.
Good.
And we're doing outreach all the time with our vet centers and everybody else to let people know.
Okay. I think we could do a better job.
I agree.
We have to.
I agree completely.
Okay. Question. We talk about VA healthcare, which is what we're here to talk about, but we don't put it into a context. We are living in a nation which has a broken, dysfunctional, wildly expensive healthcare system. In your judgment, just out of curiosity, how does VA healthcare compare to healthcare out in the regular world for civilians?
I think in certain areas, just like we're out in the regular world, you have some hospitals that are performing exceptionally and you have some that are not. I think that's the problem that we have in our healthcare systems in general. I think this is something I said earlier. We can't separate out VA from the healthcare system in a whole.
That's true. All right.
But sometimes we do that.
All right. Let me ask you this. My understanding is that we have, roughly speaking, a shortage of 2,500 doctors, 6,600 nurses. All right? What are you guys doing to bring in more doctors, nurses, social workers into VA where they're desperately needed?
Well, one, I want to move doctors that are not working with patients and move them into patient care. That would be a good start. Nurses as well. Also, I'd like to have help from the Congress as well. We need to actually look at our pay structures and our caps on our doctors and what we can pay them. It's very difficult to compete when you're offering at some points hundreds of thousands of dollars less for someone to come work at the VA.
All right. Do you acknowledge, I agree with you, do you acknowledge, though, that right now there is a shortage of doctors, nurses, social workers in the VA.
I acknowledge there's a shortage for everybody in the healthcare industry on those same issues.
But in the VA, I'm not criticizing. I'm
No,
just
no,
saying.
I mean, we're the same as everybody else. That's why I said we are the same as every other healthcare system. We're struggling to recruit doctors, nurses, and others just as anybody else. And that's something we're constantly in outreach about. Sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's not.
The Department of Defense has a medical school. You're aware of that? Uniformed Services Medical School, which does a very good job. Do you think that one of the problems we have overall is that we're not graduating enough doctors and nurses in America?
Yes.
All right. Do you think we can be expanding schools like the Uniformed Services Medical School to bring more people into DOD and VA healthcare?
It's an interesting concept. I think we got to go back to a deeper issue: is why are more of our young people not going to school to go to be a doctor, a nurse, or other things? I think
All right,
that's,
but that
that's
has
a
to
bigger
do,
issue.
Fair enough, but that has to do with it. I'm a working class kid. I'm going to graduate medical school $500,000 in debt, correct? Is the idea of entertaining programs saying you want to go to medical school, we're going to pay for your entire tuition, et cetera, to encourage you to get the medical school grad?
I think anything that we can look at to encourage that is possible. You already have that when you can go into the medical and they'll pay for in DOD, they'll pay for your medical school.
But it sounds like we may want to expand that.
It's something that we can, I think it's something as an overall healthcare system, Senator, you and I probably agree on this, probably more than anyone else, that we've got to make sure that our pool of workers is adequate for all of our systems, not just the VA. And the healthcare system in our country is an issue that we have right now. And I think it's a bigger discussion. I appreciate you bringing it up, and it's something we look at.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
First off, this is basic. Senator Sanders opens with what should be a no-brainer. Do workers have a right to unionize? And Secretary Collins, after a slight pause, says yes. Good. But the hesitation? That speaks volumes. Unions built the middle class in this country. If you're a patriot, if you believe in fair pay, job security, and American families being able to afford a home and support their kids, you support the right to organize. Period. Now this is where things get real. Sanders calls out the executive order that stripped collective bargaining rights from nearly 80% of VA workers. Let me ask you this. When did being in a union become a national security threat? Are the nurses and doctors at the VA supposed to be enemy combatants now? You want to talk about national security? How about making sure our veterans are getting quality care from staff who aren't overworked, underpaid, and treated like second-class citizens? Exactly. He nails it. And Collins doesn't even answer directly, because there's no real answer. It's political smoke and mirrors to bust unions, plain and simple. You can't say you support workers and then strip away their most basic protections. Here's where Sanders really hits a moral chord. There are millions of veterans in this country who don't know what benefits they've earned. That's a failure, not just a policy, but of principle. If you serve this country, we owe you. Not with words, not with parades, but with actual, accessible health care and support. And Collins agrees there's a problem with outreach. That's fine, but agreeing isn't enough. Fix it. Build a system that meets vets where they are. Knock on their doors if you have to. This part is big. We live in a country with the most expensive healthcare system in the world, and yet we rank below so many other developed nations in outcomes. The VA system, it has flaws, but in many areas it outperforms private care. The truth is our entire healthcare system needs reform. And yes, that includes the VA, but don't separate the two and act like we can fix one without the other. 2,500 doctors, 6,600 nurses. That's how many professionals the VA is short on. That's not just a staffing issue, it's a national disgrace. And Collins blames pay caps, and he's not wrong. Why would a qualified doctor take a job at the VA when they can make double in the private sector? But here's the thing, that's on Congress. You want to attract the best and brightest to serve those who served? Pay them fairly. That's how you do it. This part gave me hope. Sanders and Collins both acknowledge the elephant in the room. Our medical education system is broken. Young people can't afford to go to medical school without drowning in debt. $500,000 for a degree? That's criminal. You want more doctors in the VA? Create pathways. Pay for their education. Make a deal. Serve your country in healthcare for 5, 10 years. We'll pay your tuition. Sounds like a win-win to me. Look, here's what it comes down to. You can't wave the flag on Veterans Day and then turn around and gut the very institutions that serve those same veterans. You can't say you're pro-worker and anti-union. That's not how this country works. What Bernie Sanders did in that hearing was speak the truth, loudly, unapologetically, and honestly, patriotically, because true patriotism means holding our government accountable. It means fighting for those who fought for us. And to Secretary Collins, look, I respect the job you've taken on, but respect doesn't mean silence. You're in the hot seat for a reason. Do better. If you agree that veterans deserve better, that workers deserve rights, and that healthcare should be a right, not a privilege. Hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about this exchange. Was Bernie right to press so hard? Is the VA being failed by politics? Thanks for watching, and as always, stand strong, speak truth, and stay patriotic.